My student took Pte Exam on 26th of June in Sydney and got Pte Speaking 90 out of 90 by just following tips and tricks and using my very easy and simple templates. A lot of people have problems with Pte Speaking, especially extended speaking, which means in your describe image and retail lecture. So in today's video, I'm going to share you how my student successfully passed Pte Exam and was able to score 90 in speaking section. I'm going to share all my secrets by showing you how I performed and how you should perform as well in this official mock test, which is scored practice test D. Everything that you will see in this video is exactly the same way that I performed in my real exam, and my student also did as well 3 days ago. If you watch the entire video, you are going to see the templates I use, tips and tricks, the speech, the tempo that I speak, etc. If you have to take Pte academic exam sometime soon, watch this video till the end so that it will definitely help you to be ready for your exam, to be well prepared for your Pte academic exam. If you failed Pte exam again and again and you want to pass it in your next attempt, I put together a free guide, Pte Speaking 90 Ultimate Guide. So in this guide, I'm going to share literally everything about Pte speaking section, all my secrets, some preparation steps or tips and tricks that helped me and my student pass the exam, and we both got 90 in speaking section. I will be explaining each and every task in speaking section with the marking criteria, the strategy or the easy and updated templates that my student use in the real exam, and I'm going to share you the things that you need to be careful. You just need to read this guide and go implement it. This is the best thing that I can give to you. This guide is very in-depth, packed with useful tips and tricks, and of course, it will help you to get your desired score as quickly as possible. It's definitely worth your time, no fluff, straight to the point. If you want to get this guide, you can just click the direct link in the comment section below to grab it. Okay, mock test D. Credit unions are non-profit organizations that were imported to the United States from Germany in the early 1900s. They were regulated in 1934 by the Federal Credit Union Act, which limits membership to groups having a common bond of occupation or association. Groups from particular geographical areas also were eligible to join credit unions. There are two main types of market research. Quantitative research involves collecting a lot of information by using techniques such as questionnaires and other forms of survey. Qualitative research involves working with smaller samples of consumers, often asking them to discuss products and services, while researchers take notes about what they have to say. This course provides an introduction to the history and development of the British legal system. Its aim is to describe the evolution of the common law of England, the legal system of England, and the legal profession of England, and to introduce you to the study of constitutions as law, and to the legal aspects of constitutional systems of government. This is an extremely useful resource which ranks books and academic papers on the subject, not only in terms of their reliability, but also their readability. As a result, it is likely to save students time and effort that would otherwise have been spent working through a lot of dense text before finding the one they really need. Closure activities allow participants to consolidate learning, say goodbye to groupmates, and attend to any unfinished business prior to the ending of the group experience. Generally, these activities involve some reflection upon what has been learned or accomplished during the preceding time together and a sharing of those thoughts or insights with other participants. Thus, language acquisition might be like other biological functions. The linguistic clumsiness of tourists and students might be the price we pay for the linguistic genius we displayed as babies, just as the decrepitude of age is the price we pay for the vigor of youth.
I look forward to meeting you and to helping you realize your goals.
I look forward to meeting you, helping you realize your goals.
Read the fitness center instructions before attempting to use the equipment.
Read the fitness center instructions before attempting to use equipment.
The books are filled with drawings of machines he invented when he was a student.
The books are filled drawings of machines he invented when he was a student.
Financial support can be offered to help pay your fees and other costs.
Financial support can help to offer helping to pay your fees and other financial support.
It is necessary to solve the equation to determine the unknown variable.
It is necessary to solve equation determine the unknown variables.
The book is informative, but it could be accused of political bias.
The book is informative, but it could be accused political bias.
During an official ceremony, a memorandum of understanding was signed by the academic dean.
During official ceremony, memorandum of understanding was signed. The academic dean.
Our tutorial will take place on the second floor in room 1.
Our tutorial will take place on the second floor, room 1.
The library offers group study rooms so you can work with other students.
The library offers group study rooms so you can work with other students.
Proficiency in a foreign language may be demonstrated by assessment.
Proficiency in foreign language may be demonstrated by an assessment. The given image gives information about it is a very beautiful image and I have to speak for 40 seconds about this image. Average rainfall in inches 47.25, 33.70, 7.66, 22.02. New York, Dallas, Phoenix. The given image gives information about average rainfall in inches. It is a very beautiful image and I have to speak for 40 seconds about this image. There are different elements in the image which are average rainfall in inches, New York, Dallas, Phoenix, Honolulu. Average rainfall in inches, New York is the highest, 47.25%, and Phoenix is the lowest, 7.66%. I can also see 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 inches. One of the elements is maximum and the other is minimum. Percentage of students aged 5 to 17 taught at home in USA, 1999, 2003, 2007, 2012, 1.7%, 2.2%, 2.9%, 3.4%. The given image gives information about percentage of students aged 5 to 17 taught at home in USA. It is a very beautiful image. I have to speak for 40 seconds about this image. There are different elements in the image which are 1999, 2003, 2007, 2012, 1.7%, 2.2%, 2.9%, and 3.4%. One of the elements is maximum and the other is minimum. To conclude, the image is very informative. Percentage of students from disadvantaged backgrounds entering university in England, 60% increase 2006, 2007, 2008, 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014. 60% increase, 60% increase. The given image gives information about percentage of students from disadvantaged backgrounds entering university in England. There are different elements in the image which are the years 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, and also 2012, 2013, and finally 2014. Overall, we can see 60% increase. We can see 60% increase percentage of students from disadvantaged backgrounds entering university in England. To conclude, the image is very informative. The life cycle of a frog: embryo, tadpole, tadpole with two legs, tadpole with 4 legs, and adult frog, and then eggs. The life cycle of a frog. Life cycle of a frog. The given image gives information about the life cycle of a frog. It is a very beautiful image and I have to speak for 40 seconds about this image. There are different elements in the image which are embryo, tadpole, tadpole with 2 legs, and then tadpole with 4 legs, and then it becomes an adult frog, and also eggs. So the life cycle of a frog repeated. One of the elements is maximum and the other is minimum. To conclude, the image is very informative. Lecture.
The first results on the Welsh language were reported in March 2003. The census found that there were 576,000 Welsh speakers aged 3 and over, or 21% of the population, which represents a 2% increase since 1991. The proportion of people in Wales aged 3 and over who can speak, read and write Welsh increased from 13.6% to 16.3% over the period 1991 to 2001. A further 138,000, or 5% of the population, said they understood Welsh but did not speak it. In addition, 84,000 gave a combination of positive responses that was imprecise, making it difficult to work out whether they could understand, speak, read, or write Welsh. The growth in the number of Welsh speakers has occurred largely in the south and east of the country.
Welsh language was the main topic of the lecture. He talked about the census found that there were Welsh speakers. Welsh language was the main topic of the lecture. He talked about the census found that there were 576,000 Welsh speakers, or 21% of population, represents a 2% increase since 1991. And also who can speak, read and write Welsh increased 13.6% to 13.3% over the period 1991 to 2001. 5% of the population, they understood Welsh but did not speak it. Positive responses making it difficult to work out they could understand, speak, read or write Welsh. The number has occurred in the south and east of the country.
The most visible manifestation of this wealth was a series of grand projects that were begun by Napoleon III mainly in Paris, soon after he came to power in the 1850s. He said, "I want to be a second Augustus," making reference to the Emperor Augustus's claim that he found Rome a city of brick and left it one of marble. In the case of Napoleon III, he found Paris in 1851 a city of cobblestones and twisting medieval streets, and he left it one of asphalt and macadam, because what he began doing was bulldozing old Paris, the ancient medieval part of Paris, and replacing it with wide new boulevards, 85 miles of them, that he lit with some 20,000 gas lamps, which he took out all the old 18th century oil lamps, replaced them with gas, which gave a much cleaner, brighter, regular light. Also 50,000 trees are planted alongside them, many of them the chestnut trees that we now think of as synonymous with Paris. And he drained the streets with 200 miles of sewers, these new famous Parisian sewers beneath the streets, thereby making the city a much more safer, pleasant place to wander, to stroll, to people watch, to have coffee or absinthe in the cafes.
Paris was the main topic of the lecture. He talked about a series of grand projects. Paris was the main topic of the lecture. He talked about a series of grand projects begun by Napoleon III, mainly in Paris. He came to power in the 1850s. I want to be a second Augustus. He found Rome a city of brick, one of marble. In the case of Napoleon III, Paris in 1851, he began doing was bulldozing old Paris, the ancient medieval. 20,000 gas lamps gave a much cleaner, brighter, regular light. 50,000 trees are planted alongside them, the chestnut trees, as synonymous with Paris.
How many years are in a decade?
10 years. 10 years.
What do you use to identify yourself when you arrive in a foreign country?
Passport.
What do you press when you arrive at someone's front door?
A doorbell. Doorbell. Bell.
What is the occupational title for the composer of a novel?
Novelist. Novelist.
The terms circumference, diameter, and radius refer most commonly to which geometric shape?
A circle.
What do you call a person who trains a team of athletes?
Coach.
What is the term for an extended speech by one person in a play?
Dialogue. Dialogue. Script. That's it for speaking section. Disabled people were among the early adopters of personal computers. They were quick to appreciate that word processing program and printer gave them freedom from dependence on others to read and write for them. Some became very knowledgeable about what could be achieved and used their knowledge to become independent. Information in electronic form. People's disability are not visible in online communication system. Do not have to declare their disability. Just copy here. Some people think that certain kinds of music promote learning in young children. While there have been many research studies, so far there have been mixed results. Discuss whether or not you think that certain kinds of music have an effect on learning.
The topic we're going to focus on is the population challenge for the 21st century. Now, what is that challenge?
Well, I think what is interesting about population is that at the end of the 20th century, we saw tremendous changes which are going to follow through over the 21st century. And basically, our population is changing in size. It's growing very rapidly. We currently have about 7 billion people on the planet. That has probably doubled in the lifetime of most adults in this country. It is going to increase, we think, to around about 10 billion, and then it'll probably flatten out. It's changing in its density. We're all becoming far more urban. Currently, we have about half the world's population living in an urban area. That will increase to 75% by the middle of the century and to about 80 to 90% by the end of the century, when nearly everyone on the planet will be living in an urban area. Distribution of population is changing. We're becoming mobile in a different way. Traditional migration patterns are changing. Who migrates is changing, where they migrate. And probably, I think, one of the greatest challenges is a massive change in the age structure of the population, in so much as across the world, women are having less children, and as a consequence, as we're also living longer, the age composition of our population is changing. So, for example, by the middle of the century, for the very first time, there will be as many old people as there are young people on this planet.
the most interesting thing that I can bring to the table here today is the fact that we are considering at Warwick the idea of general education for all incoming undergraduate students. Now, for those of you who aren't from the United States, it's quite common in the United States for students to only major after their second of a four-year undergraduate degree. And so they have the first year or two actually to sample many different courses across the curriculum. And this is called general education. This is not very common, not in this country nor in Europe, where in fact students come in specialized. Right? They already come in with a subject that they've chosen. The idea behind having general education now is basically because whatever specialist kind of subject that you're trained in is unlikely to be a source of a lifelong career in any sense of the word, no matter what the subject is.
There's always a choice on exams that I give, and I tell my students that when you're writing an exam, remember the following. One, answer the question. You'd be surprised how often people don't answer the question. They have some things they'd like to talk about, so they talk about that. But think of the poor examiner. He or she thought so hard to try to make a nice question, and their feelings are hurt if you don't answer the question. It's not good to hurt the examiner's feelings. Okay, now the second thing is when you ask the question, know your stuff. You should be fully in charge of the material in lectures and reading. And then third, it's helpful if you think for yourself. If the exam is intelligently designed, you should have some opportunity to exercise your critical abilities. And fourth, it is immensely helpful if you can write coherent English.
So palm oil is the most widely produced oil crop currently. It's used in a wide range of industries, including food, for biofuels, and in soaps and shampoos. However, the sector's growing fast, and unfortunately, palm oil grows in exactly the same environment as tropical rainforest. So the use and the development of palm oil, the growth in the sector, is leading to wide-scale deforestation. What we're hoping to do is if we can come up with an alternative, we can slow the growth of this sector and therefore stop the wide-scale deforestation in Southeast Asia.
The earlier chocolate was quite unpalatable. It was they used to add things to it to make it more palatable. So the early chocolate, they didn't know how to extract all the cocoa fat from it, so it could be quite greasy, and if you made it as a drink, you'd have this sort of scum on the top. So they used to try and add things to it, like starch and things, to make it a more palatable product. So there are a lot of scandals around the kind of things they were adding to chocolate in the 19th century, so that by the sort of 1870s, 80s, there are people like Cadbury saying, no, our chocolate is absolutely pure. We have this new process, the Van Houten process, which now extracts all this horrible fat, and we can use that to make eating chocolate, and now we have a pure product.
Yeah, so I actually got interested in non-human animals by actually hanging out with them. As a college student, I had the opportunity to actually do some research with monkeys, and that actually brought me down to a very nice, warm Caribbean island where I got to hang out with a bunch of monkeys for the first time. And I think I can remember the moment when I first got interested, not just in their cognition, but particularly in their emotion, when I was hanging out on a beach that I was finding really beautiful, and it was warm and there was a breeze. And I noticed there was a monkey sitting right beside me who was like looking out into the water and seemed to be experiencing exactly the same things I was. And it just caused me to think, like, what does he know about the world? What does he know about the scene? Is he enjoying it? Does he find this beautiful? And it was kind of a fascinating moment because I realized that, you know, we now have these cool tools in cognitive science where we can answer some of these big questions. Whether you have a pet dog or a cat or even a goldfish, right, you can't help but wonder what they're experiencing and if they experience some of the same things that you do.
Computers have always been good at doing things that are really complicated for us humans. Things like crunching insanely large numbers and running complex algorithms. On the other hand, computers have a really hard time recognizing a particular voice or face in a crowd, something most kids learn to do before they're even out of diapers. But things are changing fast. Over the next decade or so, machines will more easily mimic inherently human abilities, and they'll learn to do it much the same way we do, through experience. Experience, in this case, means computers will be fed data patterns over and over again until they're able to automatically identify a particular sound or image on their own. This process is called machine learning.
First, on this issue of media, on using phones and laptops, we're kind of having some backsliding. I got a few emails from people who said that the person next to them was on Facebook or using their computers or anything, and they were really annoyed by it. So remember the rule. There are one or two people here who sought permission to take notes on a laptop for various reasons. But aside from that, unless you had express permission, no phones, no laptops during class, okay? It's just not courteous to our guests, and it's harder to multitask than you think.
Okay, well, I want to talk to you today about introversion and extroversion, which I have come to believe are as profound a part of our identities as our gender. And that therefore it's extremely important to know where we fall on the introvert-extrovert spectrum. And when I say this, I'm not talking about where do you appear to fall. Because in this extroverted culture of ours, we all tend to act a lot more extroverted than we really are, right? So I'm talking about who are you really if you could spend your time exactly as you please, your work days, your weekends. Would you be more of an introvert or would you be more of an extrovert?
We've started to have a dialogue with technology. And so this is where the realms of science fiction, I suppose, can come in, is because in the future there may be a chance of actually having quite natural interactions with computers sort of vocally. Now part of that is, and some of the research I do, is understanding the psycholinguistics of that. So understanding what we can learn from human-human dialogue and looking at the phenomena in human-human dialogue and how we can apply that to human-computer dialogue and how design actually augments and changes that phenomena. So an example would be that we don't tend to, in natural speech, we tend to align with each other. We tend to use the same words. If I was describing a bus, for instance, if you use the term coach, I would use the term coach as well. So that's called lexical alignment. Now we seem to be doing this, we do this with computers as well, but the design of them actually changes the way that we do that. So the fact that we think a computer is sort of maybe basic at understanding us changes the way we behave vocally. And so this is interesting because it gives us a window on how people
Yeah, it's definitely something around balance. That's really what it comes down to, a more balanced way of living, and balance being that it's in balance with the environment. And the reason why we're living an unsustainable life at the moment is that our consumption patterns, be it energy, be it products, be it food, are completely outstripping the world's ability to support us. So that's why it needs.
If there's a single piece of social science research that's really inspired you, what would it be?
I think it was a book that Richard, my co-author, wrote and published in 1996, and it came out when I was a PhD student at the University of Berkeley, and it was called Unhealthy Societies, and we used to fight over it in the library because we couldn't afford books, and somebody would take it out, and then we'd immediately put in a request to get it back, so people only had it for a very short time. But that was a book about inequality and about health, but a very, very rich text with lots of examples.
Cooking is such an amazing way to learn about science. Many of us cook every day, but when you start to think about why the recipes work, why is it that when you knead bread it has this remarkable texture, or why is it that candy recipes work as they do, or how is it that you cook eggs in a way that it comes out to be perfect, you immediately are led to thinking about basic principles in science.
You will need to read Chapter 1 before the management class.
The seminar provides an opportunity to exchange ideas with other students.
Accountancy students need a good understanding of profit and loss statements.
Honestly, I highly recommend you to complete at least one official mock test before going to the real exam, because the score practice test that you find on the Pearson official website probably the best indicator of your readiness for your PTE test. The official mock test replicate the same test format and almost the same time conditions as you will have in the real exam, which you can comfortably take on your laptop or your computer at home. Another benefit is that they use the real exam questions that used to appear in the actual exam before. Sometimes I got the same question in the mock test, during my real exam as well. And they also use the same marking algorithms and the same marking system as I mentioned earlier, which might give you the closest indication of how you will perform on the test day, how much scores you should get on your test day. Maybe you might find that $36 for just one score mock test might be a bit expensive, but just consider this as your good investment, because imagine if you fail the Pte exam, you have to book for another exam, you have to waste another $415, and $415, which is very expensive, considering the cost of living at the moment. In my opinion, you rather invest in this official mock test to see how you can improve your weaknesses and prepare yourself to be completely ready for the real test.